Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Super 6 on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, getting you all the top stories that we're tracking over the last many hours. Now, we will be focusing first on what's happening between Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. The renowned HAL facility, the HAL facility in Bengaluru, is it going to be shifted out? Well, the Karnataka government seems to think that Andhra Pradesh is making a pitch for HAL to be relocated out of Bengaluru and into Andhra Pradesh. Is that actually the case? Well, HAL is part of essentially the identity of the city of Bengaluru. It's synonymous with Bengaluru. Will it actually be shifted out? We're going to be talking about that and the political showdown that's playing out over all of these claims and reports that perhaps there's a possibility of HAL being moved to Andhra Pradesh. We'll be getting you all of those details. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. So before we get you details of the big HAL showdown between Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, I want to bring your focus first to an important story from Kerala. Authorities in the state are on a high alert for the last many days after this particular incident of a cargo ship that sank right off the Kochi coast. Containers of this particular ship have now begun washing ashore along the coast in places like Kollam and Alappuzha. Now, why is this a matter of concern? This particular vessel carried over 640 containers, including 13 which had hazardous materials, perhaps chemicals, that could trigger a serious crisis if it's leaked from any of the containers, which is why the Coast Guard and all officials are right now constantly monitoring the situation, even as one container after another is washing up ashore along Kerala's coast. Let's get you a ground report first by Shibimol, and then we'll decode for you how this could be a serious threat for Keralites.
A disaster at sea that could be catastrophic for those along the coast. Authorities in Kerala are on high alert after containers from a cargo ship that sank off the Kochi coast began washing ashore. The sunken Liberian vessel was carrying over 640 containers, including 13 with hazardous materials. And that is the concern. If there is a leak in the containers with these chemicals, it will lead to a serious catastrophe. Containers are now washing up ashore in different districts in Kerala.
The Kerala coast has been put on high alert after the sinking of a container ship, a Liberian container ship, MSC Elsa 3 off the Kochi coast. In fact, the people living closer to the Alappuzha, Ernakulam, Kollam and Thiruvananthapuram coast have been asked to be vigilant as the containers that fell from the ship are likely to wash ashore in these districts. We are in Kollam right now, in Shaktikulangara, where you can see the containers that has already washed ashore. There are 11 containers here. All of these have fallen from the ship that sank off the Kochi coast on Saturday. All the crew members were rescued by the Indian Navy and Coast Guard, but the concerning factor here is that the containers have fallen. The containers from the ship have fallen into the sea, and also there is a scare of oil spill as the ship's fuel oil has leaked following the sinking of the ship. So these are the main concerns raised by the authorities here. Now the instruction that was given out to the public was, do not go near any of these containers, do not go near any objects that you find unusual along the coast. In fact, as of now, in the latest update, we have around 40 containers that has already washed ashore the coast. Most of it was found in Kollam here in various coastal regions. And the other containers were found in districts like Alappuzha and Thiruvananthapuram as of now. In fact, in a total of 40 containers has been found.
Police have been deployed across the affected coastal areas to secure the sites and prevent public interference. The affected areas have been cordoned off by local officials, and the public is not allowed within 200 meters of the site.
ഇതിന്റെ ആശങ്ക തീരണമെങ്കിൽ ഇത് ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഇതിന്റെ നേരിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഈ കണ്ടെയ്നറിൽ എന്താണ് വന്നതെന്നും അതുകൊണ്ടുള്ള ദോഷഫലങ്ങളും എല്ലാം ജനങ്ങളെ ബോധ്യപ്പെടുത്തേണ്ട കാര്യമുണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇത് ഇങ്ങനെ സംഭവിച്ചതുകൊണ്ട് ഇനി അങ്ങോട്ട് ബോട്ടുകൾ ഫിഷിങ്ങിന് പോയിട്ട് വരുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് അതിന്റെ മത്സ്യം വാങ്ങാൻ ജനങ്ങൾ സാധാരണ മടിക്കും.
ടെൻഷനും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, എന്തൊക്കെയാണിതെന്നും അറിയത്തില്ലല്ലോ. അപ്പോൾ തലേന്ന് വാർത്തയിൽ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു എന്തെങ്കിലും ഇത് വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതൊന്നും തൊട്ടുകൂടാ, ഇതിൽ വിഷവസ്തുവൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു.
The Coast Guard is also closely monitoring the situation to alert if there is any leak. So what are in these containers? While many of them are empty, some of them reportedly contain calcium carbide, a chemical that reacts with seawater to release acetylene gas, which are highly flammable. As of now, there has been no leak detected, but officials are taking no chances. With Shibi Mole, Bureau Report, India Today.
So that's an extremely concerning situation that's playing out in Kerala. The next few days are very crucial. If there is even the smallest leak in one of those containers, it will lead to a serious crisis along that entire coastline, not just for Kerala, but for other states as well. I want to bring in Shibi Mole. She's joining us live from Kollam in Kerala, which is where a lot of, in fact, these particular containers have been found. Shibi, I see those behind you as well. Have all of these containers been recovered? Is there still a worry right now, Shibi, of a potential leak?
Well, Akshita, yes, there is still a worry in, when it comes to the oil spill. That's the major concern, because these containers as of now are not very dangerous, because all of these that was found near the shore are all empty. So that's not a concern, but the containers that still needs to be recovered is the concern, because we need to know what exactly is inside it. If there's any presence of chemical substances, then that's really a concern. But more than that, it's the oil spill, because there was a leakage of fuel oil from the ship also. So that is concerning. The Dornier aircraft had sprayed the oil dispersing powder right after the ship fully sank, and we understood that there was a leakage of oil. But again, the coastline, the entire Kerala coast is on high alert. Like we showed earlier, the containers. It's actually in Kollam that we have found the most number of containers washing ashore. Right now, the procedure is to remove these containers from this area. It's all big containers, so it's not very easy to remove it one by one. They'll have to break it and then use a crane to lift us. What we have been told. What they found inside these containers are not anything danger, because any dangerous substances were not found. It's mostly food packets and food items. Tea powder is what we have been told. But like I pointed out, the containers that still needs to be recovered, that's still inside the sea, that's the major concern, because if it affects the marine life, then it's a major concern. Kerala has a very strong coastal population. A lot of them a lot of their livelihood depends on fishing. So if there's any kind of concern or worry, then that is going to affect their livelihood
very, very
in the coming
troubling
days. And they're also seeking a clarity from the government sources regarding.
Okay, Shibi, I'm going to come back to you for another live update. From what Shibi is telling me, right now the situation is worrying, because the containers that had these chemicals haven't been found just yet. They're still out at sea. And if by any chance, looking at the choppy waters there, because it is the monsoon season, by any chance, if that container hits upon a rough surface and there is a leak, it's going to be chaos, to say the least, because one, you will have your marine life being hit. Secondly, people who live in these coastal areas will all have to be evacuated, and then to control the spread will be hugely challenging in these kind of sea waters. But let me just run you through what exactly this chemical is, and I'll explain to you all of the containers that we're looking at right now. Most of them, 600 of them, most of them are empty. But besides that, there are some containers that contain calcium carbide. Calcium carbide is sand-like powder, or it's found as rocks, essentially, like grey stones. And this chemical has a garlic-like odor. What happens is essentially it's used very often for steel manufacturing, because when in contact with salt water, it generates acetylene gas. This gas is highly flammable. So that's a big point of concern there. Secondly, any contact with this liquid, when this gas is in liquid form, can cause frostbite as well for people. And exposure to the smell for a very long time can cause headache, can cause dizziness. So for people who live along these areas, if there is a leak, it's a serious health concern right now. But Shibi, it's not just limited to Kerala. If there is a leak, to control that, will be very difficult because, like I said, it's the monsoon's choppy seas. The water is going to carry this far and wide, in which case there will also be an alert issued for other states like Karnataka, like also Maharashtra perhaps. But right now the Coast Guard is saying we're very closely monitoring the situation. But till each of those containers are recovered, particularly the ones that contain this calcium carbide, it will be really difficult for any sort of concrete, assurance that there will be no fallout that occurs because of this incident. We've gotten you that ground report. I'd like to thank Shibimol for getting us those details from Kollam. And this is a story we promised to track here on India Today. The consequences of a leak could be extremely worrisome, which is why we wanted to throw the spotlight on it right on top here on Super 6. But let's take you to our top focus story now about HAL. Is it moving out of Karnataka? There's a whole lot of anger in the Karnataka government. They're claiming that Andhra Pradesh is actually pushing for the HAL facility to be relocated. Is any of this true? Well, let me begin by getting you all of the details. Some reports essentially suggested that Chandrababu Naidu, during his visit to Delhi last week, has offered 10,000 acres of land in Andhra Pradesh's Anantapur district. This is roughly an hour from Bengaluru's airport, so location perfect. Now, these reports suggested that Chandrababu Naidu, while visiting Delhi, proposed to the centre that this could be a possible site for HALs, AMCA and LCA manufacturing units. The Andhra Chief Minister, according to these reports, urged the centre to consider moving the projects to Andhra Pradesh, highlighting proximity to Bengaluru and the fact that there is land easily available. It's over these very reports that the Siddaramaiah government is seeing red. The Karnataka government is lashing out, saying it's one thing to go ahead and request for a new HAL facility, but quite another to push for relocating existing projects, because they say that that's a threat then to Karnataka's welfare, to Bengaluru, and so they're saying that it's simply not done, because this then attacks the very spirit of cooperation, as the Karnataka government has put it. Let me run you through all the reactions that have come in from the Karnataka government, and then I'll run you through what the Andhra government has had to say.
I don't want to comment on whatever they demand. But Karnataka will not allow any of the which has been functioning well. If they want, let them have the new. But I want my parliament members and my central ministers who are there to react on this. But as a government, we will not allow anything to be shifted.
They offered 10,000 acres of land near to Bengaluru.
We have all those lands with us only. We have given in Tumkur for HAL. We have given for helicopter division. We will give land. What is there? If they want to expand, we will give. Let them have any new thing. I don't want to come in their way. But as far as Karnataka is concerned, it is our pride. Nehruji gave us. It is a base. Bidar as a base. Bangalore as a base. We have two HAL airports in Bangalore itself. One is in Yelahanka, one is in the HAL airport. So there is no question of it. Their desire, we don't want to intervene on this.
ನೋಡಿ, ಈಗ ಈ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಚರ್ಚೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಾನು ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಅವರು ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸಚಿವರು, ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಸಚಿವರುಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಚಂದ್ರಬಾಬು ನಾಯ್ಡು ಅವರು ಹಾಗೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಹಾಗೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯ HALನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತು ದಿವಸ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇದನ್ನ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ತಪ್ಪಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಎರಡನೇದಾಗಿ ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಾರಿಡಾರ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾವು ರಾಜನಾಥ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಭೇಟಿಯಾದಾಗ ನಾವು 2022-23ಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು UP ಮತ್ತು ತಮಿಳುನಾಡುಗೆ ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಾರಿಡಾರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಆ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇದ್ದಾಗ. ಅವಾಗ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಾರಿಡಾರ್.
He is the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh and a senior chief minister also. Let him start a new factory. But as a chief minister, he should not ask to shift from Bangalore to Andhra Pradesh. This is not good.
Okay. Will you oppose, sir, as a government?
100% we will oppose.
Thank you.
Well, everybody should oppose, including BJP, JDS. Everybody should oppose.
10,000 acres, if 10,000 acres was the requirement to set up HAL, there are vast tracts of land in Rajasthan, there are vast tracts of land in Siberia and Tibet in different parts. So it's not land which is the criteria, it is the talent, the ecosystem. And in India, if you look at which state has the ability to produce this kind of talent and infrastructure and ecosystem, it's Karnataka. If you say which city, it is 100% Bangalore, which drives innovation, which drives entrepreneurship, which drives startup, and this is why people come and set up.
So you've got the Karnataka government there up in arms saying we'll do whatever it takes to ensure HAL doesn't leave Karnataka. But is that something that's even being considered right now? I want you to listen to what the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu actually said last week when he was in Delhi, right after meeting the Defence Minister. Yes, he did talk about offering a certain amount of land in Anantapur to the central government, but at no point did the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu name HAL, name HAL. Listen into this.
రెండోది లేపాక్షి మడకశిర ఇక్కడ ఒక 10,000 ఎకరాలు ఉంది. మిలిటరీ అండ్ సివిల్ ఎయిర్ క్రాఫ్ట్స్ కానీ ఎలక్ట్రానిక్స్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ అదే మరి ఇంకొక పక్కన ఒక ఏరోస్పేస్ ఎకో సిస్టమ్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలని చెప్పి కోరాను. దానికి కూడా ఆయన సుముఖంగా ఉన్నారు.
Okay, so let's just put this in context for you of what Andhra Pradesh said versus how the Karnataka government has responded. Andhra Pradesh essentially has said we've offered 10,000 acres of land in Anantapur, which is about 1 hour away from the Bengaluru airport. And they've said we've offered this land to the Defence Minister. Chandrababu Naidu in Delhi said we've proposed that a centre for military and civil aircraft come up in Anantapur. He also has said that the Defence Minister is positive to the idea of creating that aerospace ecosystem. To all of this, the Karnataka government has said that it's highly inappropriate to make such an offer, this offer to relocate HAL. So they're saying it's not an additional facility, but relocation of HAL from Bengaluru to Anantapur, which they're saying is not acceptable. And such an offer, according to the Karnataka government, goes against the spirit of cooperation. But I'd like to bring in Sagai Raj, who's joining us live from Bengaluru, and Apurva Jayachandran, who's also joining us live from Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh. Sagai, I'll come across to you first. Why is the Karnataka government here assuming, Sagai, that the Andhra Pradesh government is looking for HAL to be relocated, to be moved out of Bengaluru?
There are reports which suggest that Chandrababu Naidu offered huge acres of land in Andhra Pradesh to establish, or rather to move the setup, the production setup for HAL from Bengaluru to the other state. And if you notice that Bengaluru's prides are HAL, NAL, DRDO, Air Force, and as well as Aeroshow. It is quite synonymous. Whenever you hear these names, the Bengaluru comes to your mind. And definitely, when it comes to these kind of organization, our political leaders in the state of Karnataka, irrespective of party, will definitely not allow, and they will try to agitate. As of now, nothing is on paper, nothing is official. Nobody spoke about this on record, but still there are reports which suggest that all possibilities that the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu might have proposed. But as I told you earlier, nothing on paper. But the ministers have already taken a political jibe, where you can notice that D.K. Shivakumar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, where he said that we need not speak about it. Let the central minister who are representing from Karnataka, let the MPs who are representing from Karnataka should raise this issue. At any cost, they will not allow to shift these institutions from Bengaluru to Andhra Pradesh. And Akshita, if you remember that there was also a report that in all possibilities, the Aeroshow, which usually happens every alternative year in Bengaluru, might get shifted to Uttar Pradesh, and there was so much of hue and cry where the leaders have opposed this, and including union ministers have assured that it will not get shifted. So it is a sentiment of the people when you're talking about HAL, NAL, DRDO, Air Force, and various other organizations which was started, which is from inception functioning from the state of Karnataka and especially in Bengaluru. So it's a lot of sentiment attached with them, and definitely the politicians will take head on, if at all, if there is any kind of proposal on it.
Okay, so Sagai getting us those details essentially from Bengaluru. Yes, it's something that's considered, HAL is considered to be intrinsic to the identity of Bengaluru, which is why you've got these reactions coming in from the Karnataka government saying it's unacceptable. I want to bring in Apurva Jayachandran, who's joining us live from Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh. Apurva, has there been any clarification from the Andhra Pradesh government? Look, if you listen to what Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has said, he does speak about offering 10,000 acres of land in Anantapur, didn't mention HAL. So have they come out with a clarification amid all of this outrage in Karnataka that, look, we weren't referring to HAL, or was it originally what they actually proposed?
Well, Akshita, I'm just going to give one clarity out here. In fact, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has specifically talked about upcoming projects, be it with HAL or any other, defense manufacturing systems that is there. He's in fact in the meeting that took place with Rajnath Singh. The Chief Minister had clarified, saying that should there be further projects that will be proposed, then let Andhra Pradesh also be one of the states where these manufacturing units can be set up. He talked about how Lepakshi, which is closer to Bengaluru, closer to Andhra Karnataka border. This can also be one of the viable options where, these manufacturing plants can be set up, is what the Chief Minister has stated. In fact, we're also getting to learn that not only Lepakshi, but also several other areas in and around Andhra Pradesh has been sites that the Chief Minister had proposed to Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, wherein he said that, listen, we have all of these lands that we can offer. Should there be additional development that the union government is looking into, then they can look into Andhra Pradesh among the other states that are also pitching in for these proposals for the development that is taking place. That's the only response that the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister and in fact Andhra Pradesh government has responded on this as well. Neither have they mentioned HAL or transferring HAL from Bengaluru or Karnataka to Andhra Pradesh. Any of those talks had been on the table. In fact, Andhra Pradesh government has also clarified, saying that we are open to a lot more projects that will be coming in for Andhra Pradesh as a part of these proposals. This proposal at Lepakshi was also one among the several proposals that had been made to Mr. Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister.
We're listing those out on our screens as well, of all of the proposals that the Andhra government has put out. In which case, is it much ado about nothing? Was this just the Andhra government putting up their hand and saying, look, we want development in Andhra, we want a lot more of these facilities to be set up, with no mention of HAL as well. But thanks very much, Sagai Apurva, for joining us with those details. Let's move away and steer away from the politics of it and talk about whether HAL is actually considering moving beyond Bengaluru. I'm not talking about relocation, but actually moving beyond Bengaluru for some of its other facilities. And why, if that happens? Well, because they have faced some challenges as far as growth goes in Bengaluru, because there is a shortage of land. When they first came up in the 1940s, HAL, of course, this Bengaluru was chosen because of how favorable the location was, its proximity to military installations, the weather, etc. Now, with it turning into such an urban pocket, there is a shortage of land. There's also airspace constraints in such a bustling city. Infrastructure bottlenecks are there, which means that if you visit any of the locations where the HAL facilities are in Bengaluru, it's essentially pocketed all around. There's urban development that's happening. And so also another challenge that comes up is that those current facilities that we're referring to of HALs, they're outdated, aging infrastructure. And for it actually to be revamped is also a huge challenge for HAL. I'd like to bring in also Sandeep Unitana on this broadcast for his view about this entire controversy. And Sandeep, I'm of course not going to ask you a political question, but I also wanted to understand from you on whether this is a serious concern for HAL. The fact that, they're not able to perhaps grow as much as they should be because of constraints in Karnataka and Bengaluru.
Absolutely, Akshita. Firstly, you have to understand what Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is. It's a very critical DPSU, Defense Public Sector undertaking. It is the only fighter jet aircraft manufacturer in the country, and it also makes helicopters, all kinds of helicopters, civil, military, combat helicopters. It is a monopoly of sorts. It's spread across 3 states. It's in Karnataka. They have a line in Nashik as well in Maharashtra, and an engine-making division in Odisha, which is in Koraput. So this is fairly spread out, the company. But the primary facility exists in Bengaluru, which, as you mentioned, is completely overcrowded. It cannot expand. It needs to expand because the kind of pressure that the Indian Air Force is placing on HAL because of its declining squadron numbers is enormous. HAL has a capacity for about 20-24 aircraft per year. The Indian Air Force wants those numbers to be ramped up to something like 40+ aircraft every year. Now, these are aircraft that will have to come out from multiple parallel production lines. So while HAL has expanded its existing facilities in Bengaluru, it's hit a ceiling. It cannot go beyond a certain number of lines, which is why they've had to shift the helicopter division to a suburb called Tumkur, which is outside of Bengaluru, and possibly it will look at other such facilities if and when they are offered. Like if Andhra Pradesh offers a complete integrated facility where they can set up, a production line for, say, the AMCA or any other aircraft that they are planning to build, then so be it. But these decisions should be left to the management of HAL and not be, subject to state politics and all. Because at the end of the day, this is not a state public sector undertaking. This is a national asset. It has been created over great expense and investment over decades. So these matters cannot be left to state governments. It has to be decided by the Defense Ministry. And given the kind of pressure that is there on the Indian Air Force's fighter squadrons, we have a sanctioned fighter squadron strength of about 39-40 squadrons. The Air Force is down to about 30 or 32 squadrons, and it really needs to ramp up its capacity very quickly. And HAL is the only company in India at present which can deliver those numbers. So it is for HAL to decide at the end of the day where it wants those numbers to come from. Will it come from a factory in Bengaluru? Will it come from a new factory possibly in Nashik or even in Andhra Pradesh? These are decisions that are best left to HAL.
You're right. Sandeep, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. Look, we keep talking about Make in India. We keep talking about Atmanirbhar defense and whatnot. Maybe we keep politics out of it and ensure expansion as much as possible, as much needed from every state in the country for the likes of HAL. Let's get you our next report on 7 members of a family found to have died by suicide in Haryana. The initial investigation suggested that financial losses actually drove them to the extreme step. Their bodies were found in a car, all 7 members having died allegedly by suicide. Details in our next report.
An abandoned Hyundai car parked outside a house in Panchkula. Inside the car were 6 bodies. Another member of the family was declared brought dead to the hospital. All members of the same family. The case from Haryana, similar to Delhi's Burari mass suicide, has sent shockwaves across the country. The deceased have been identified as 42-year-old Praveen Mittal, his wife, Praveen's father Deshraj Mittal, and his mother, and their 3 children, including 2 teenage daughters and a son. Hailing from Barwala in Hisar, Praveen had shifted to Panchkula 12 years ago. He owned a scrap factory in Himachal Pradesh, which was seized by the bank due to unpaid loans.
The neighbors say that the family was humble and very courteous. Whenever they meet someone, they were very jovial and they used to meet people regularly. Neighbors also believe that they were under some crisis. The mother of Praveen Mittal was not well. Thereafter, it could have been the reason that they were under debt. However, no evidence has come to light from Dehradun that they were reeling under debt and that was the cause of their suicide.
Praveen was now driving a taxi to make both ends meet. His financial troubles are being cited as the reason behind the alleged mass suicide. The family had visited Panchkula on Monday to attend a religious sermon by Bageshwar Dham's Baba Dhirendra Shastri. Later, the entire family was found dead inside a car parked near a house in Sector 27.
One of the localite who saw them, that the car is being covered by the towels and the clothes. They even tried to open the windows, tried to communicate who's sitting in the car. So they found that 6 of them are vomiting. They seems to be unconscious, and they informed the police. It's been told that total 15 to 20 crores debt that was Praveen Mittal struggling with.
The police recovered a 2-page note from the vehicle which claimed that the family was bankrupt and heavily in debt.
हम लोगों
उन्होंने फॉरेंसिक टीम को वहां बुलाया है। सारी इन्वेस्टिगेशन हम लोगों ने किया है, उसका सोशल मीडिया अकाउंट्स, उसके बैंकिंग, उसका सीसीटीवी फुटेज, उसकी कॉल रिकॉर्ड्स, ये सारी पुलिस खंगाल रही है। एक सुसाइड नोट के ऊपर ही हम लोग प्राइमा फेसी पे हम लोगों को ये लग रहा है, उसके बाद की आगे वाली कार्रवाई बतला दी जाएगी। हर प्रकार के अकाउंट्स को खंगाला जाएगा, कॉल रिकॉर्ड्स को खंगाला जाएगा, सीसीटीवी को, सोशल मीडिया को, हर प्रकार को खंगाला जाएगा।
The bodies were later shifted to a mortuary at the civil hospital for post-mortem.
किस लिए किया उन्होंने, इस टाइप क्यों उठाया, मुझे खुद समझ में नहीं आ रहा। पुलिस से पता चल रहा है कि मुझे सुसाइड नोट है मिला है उनकी गाड़ी में, बट पुलिस वालों ने अभी तक मुझे सुसाइड नोट नहीं दिया कि मैं उसको देख सकूं, ये पता चल सके कि उन्होंने ऐसा क्यों किया।
क्या हुआ पता ही नहीं, तो आप आइडिया लगा रहे हैं ना, पहले बच्चों को पिलाया है, जो भी हुआ है पता नहीं क्या किया है, किसमें मिला के दिया है, कैसे दिया है, क्या दिया है, ये तो भगवान ही जानता है जी।
अच्छे थे बेचारे, हमारे तो कभी लड़ाई झगड़ा कुछ नहीं हुआ, हम अपने में मस्त थे, अपने बच्चों को पढ़ाना लिखाना, मेहनती थे वो, बहुत मेहनती थे।
Police are now trying to find out the extent of the family's financial troubles. They're also speaking to relatives and neighbors to piece together the events that led to this tragedy. With Ankit Kumar in Dehradun and Aman Bharadwaj in Panchkula, Bureau Report, India Today.
Moving on, to honour the valour and dedication of our forces, the BCCI has decided also to put out a special tribute during the closing ceremony of this year's IPL for Operation Sindoor. Invites have been sent across to the 3 service chiefs as the BCCI looks at ensuring a fitting tribute in the grand finale. Nikhil Nas gets you more details.
Indian cricket has decided to pay a special tribute to the Indian Armed Forces during the IPL closing ceremony to be held at the Narendra Modi Stadium on June the 3rd. Now, the decision has been taken in the wake of successful Operation Sindoor, which saw the Indian Armed Forces destroying several terrorist camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. BCCI Secretary Devajit Saikia has confirmed that the IPL 2025 closing ceremony will indeed be a tribute to the Indian Armed Forces. It has also been confirmed that the BCCI has sent invitations for the closing ceremony to Chief of Defence Staff Anil Chauhan, Chief of Army Staff Upendra Dwivedi, Chief of the Naval Staff Dinesh K. Tripathi and Chief of Air Staff AP Singh. The closing ceremony is also likely to feature performances by military bands. The BCCI is expected to bring some prominent singers on board for a musical evening ahead of the IPL 2025 grand finale. Remember, IPL 2025 season had to be suspended for 1 week owing to rising tension between India and Pakistan at the border, following a terror attack in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir, killing 26 tourists. However, the tournament resumed after a ceasefire was declared. The BCCI recognized the efforts of the Indian Armed Forces upon the IPL 2025 season's resumption as players sang the national anthem before the start of the fixtures at several venues. Messages of "Thank you, Armed Forces" were displayed on giant screens. The BCCI had also earlier paid tribute to the Armed Forces in 2019 when it invited the military band for the opening ceremony. Besides, the board also pledged to contribute 20 crore for the welfare of armed forces following the Pulwama terror attacks, where 44 CRPF personnel were killed.
Let's also get you a news break on the income tax returns deadline being extended. The deadline to file income tax returns has been extended from July 31st. It's now been pushed to September 15th. So quite a bit of time that's been given essentially to go ahead and file your ITR. And this comes because of multiple changes that have also been made. The government recognizing that it has become more complicated, more complex when compared to previous years. And so the deadline from July 31st has been pushed to September 15th. Let me bring in Karishma Asudani of Business Today TV for more details on that. Karishma, a lot of changes really in the structure, the process, the government recognizing that and therefore extending the deadline.
Well, absolutely right, Akshita. This was well on the expected note because the new provisions that they had put in recently on the new ITR norms. It was well expected that government may want to give some room for taxpayers, both individual and non-individual family taxpayers, to be able to file their income tax returns with with an extended grey deadline, and that is why they've given an additional, say, 45 days, which will be very, very helpful because it's been a year-on-year ask by a lot of chartered accountants that July 31 deadline is pretty close with the kind of extra forms and compliance that comes in.
Okay, and that's why we're seeing essentially an extension for many. This will prove to be a huge relief from July. It's been pushed now to September with the government putting out an official notification on the same. Thanks very much, Karishma, for joining us with all of those details. We're seeing the Padma Awards ceremony underway at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in the national capital. And among the slew of recipients today were two names that stood out. One was the actor Shobana, the other musician Ricky Cage. Let's play out those moments for you. The veteran actor from Mollywood, from Malayalam cinema, Shobana, also being awarded along with Ricky Cage.
Dr. Cage, Kala Geet.
So Shobana there being conferred with the Padma Bhushan, while Ricky Cage getting the Padma Shri. Huge congratulations to all of the winners of that honour. As I slip into a short break and wrap up this edition of Super 6, let me get you a fact check of the day. There are claims and videos doing the rounds saying that a man in Gaza performed a stunt on a missile, and that caused the missile to go off, to explode. Did this actually happen? The video, what we found, is completely edited. In the original video, while yes, there's a stunt being performed on a missile, there's no explosion that takes place. So it's been doctored to make it seem that right after the stunt was performed, you had an explosion taking place. And this video went fully viral amid what's happening in Gaza. Here on India Today, we've told you clearly that this video has been edited, has been doctored. Again, a reminder, don't believe everything you see on social media. We will continue getting you our daily fact check here on Super 6